popping out every day, prom night. So if it's all love, show me love.
Hello, and good morning. And what a morning it is after the Love is Blind Season 6 reunion. Okay. Before I get started in talking about the reunion, I wanted, just to do a quick blip on it. Vanderpump Rules Episode 2 is out now. You can check that out about some of the castmates and if I had clients that presented in the same way that they did, what diagnosis I would be giving them or treatment plan, things I would be working on and their treatment goals. Part 3 should be coming out probably by this weekend, if not by Monday, so we can wrap that up. After that, I'll probably be going into Real Housewives of Potomac and do an episode on that. It'll just be one episode. It won't be as extensive. But Love is Blind Season 6, the reunion. Wow. It was like eating a cheeseburger, and I'm a pescatarian, okay? It was wonderful. It gave everything it needed to give. I wanted to do a segment on them because if I had clients that presented in a similar manner with some of the same presenting issues, I really wanted to talk about some of the treatment goals and goals I would have for them for therapy, things that we need to work through. So let's start with Jeremy, Sarah Ann, and Laura. Jeremy and Sarah Ann are lacking accountability. They are lacking accountability. I don't know how else to say it. When I see couples like this that come together through something that's really corrupt and toxic, it can't last or it's not going to be healthy. And I think we saw that. Chelsea was saying that they're not even together. They're together, they're not. They're together, they're not. It almost feels like they're trying to prove, well, we can make it work. Like it wasn't all for naught. They don't want to be wrong. And staying in that space, it's not helping. The optics are really bad. So, Jeremy had the Hawaiian shirt on again, too. It's like, come on, guy. Like, are there some, like, narcissistic flavors happening here? I'm not really sure what Jeremy's end game is here, or Sarah Ann's. She said she really wanted to find love, but sounds like she found a toxic relationship. And I'm curious if this is an ongoing theme for both of them. It seems like with Jeremy, he was engaged and, they're bringing in some of their past unhealthy behaviors into the show and just not really ready to grow. I don't think that Jeremy and Sarah Ann are good candidates for therapy right now. It doesn't really seem like they're in a space where they want to grow or they want to like look at themselves in the mirror, like I say, and say, what do I have to work on? It's all about other people. There was really no consideration for Laura. Laura can read people. Okay, she can read you from the rooted to the tutor. Her and Jess. You need friends like that in your life. If you are watching and you are a woman, you need a Laura in your life, okay? Laura can read you all the way up and down so fast. I'm just like, girl, you got it. Laura, she's a champ, okay? Now, Laura, though, she does need to kind of work on her delivery sometimes. When they were at the pool party situation and I was right there with her with Jeremy, how she was going at him until she said, "You're not a man." It was like, okay, I think you took it a little bit too far, Laura. That's a little bit too far. I think Laura needs to kind of work sometimes on some of her anger management because she's so crafty with the tongue, working on that power of like harnessing that power, when to use that power, when it's necessary and when it's not necessary to expound that energy. I always tell clients you need to protect your energy. Laura's quick with the tongue. She's clever. Protect that space, right? Don't expound all that negative energy all the time when you don't need to, figure out when and where it's necessary. I mean, maybe on a show, reality show, it's necessary, but Jess made a good point that there was no consideration. Like everyone's feelings matter here, but Sarah Ann and Jeremy, like you're not even considering how Laura's feeling or how the rest of the cast feels about your behaviors. And I think Jess said that well. Trevor, I'm really concerned about Trevor. He was completely humiliated. Yes, did he deserve it? I mean, he lied. Those were his texts. However, I'm really concerned about the level of shame and humiliation that he's probably feeling after that. He even asked at a point, "Can I leave now?" And they just continued on with the segment. And then they were like, "Okay, you can leave." It was really uncomfortable to watch Trevor get outed in the way he did. And I really hope that he gets the help that he needs. He's not the first person that's gone on a reality TV show and not been his, be honest and want to be a reality star. He's not the first and he won't be the last. He just was outed. And unfortunately, he is an example now for other people, hopefully to scare them straight. I think they did a really good job of showing the other couples and how this actually can work and people can actually find love. I really hope Trevor is getting some counseling so that he can understand why he's doing this. He can understand why he wants this fame. He can understand. Also, he sat there and really kind of blamed the other girl too. Well, she knew. It's like, okay, everyone, these women are all to blame here, or other people, and where's your blame? Like, where's your accountability? Again, putting the mirror on ourselves. It was kind of giving misogynistic to me. It's kind of giving misogyny. I don't know. I think that Trevor needs a real deep dive on how we got here. We need to do a values assessment with Trevor. If I had a client like Trevor, we would do a values assessment. What do we value and why? What do we value versus what we feel like we should value? Why do we feel like we should value those things? What's getting in the way of our authentic self? How can we draw nearer to our authenticity? Trevor has a lot of work to do there, and I hope that, if anything, this was an opener for him to say, you know what, maybe I should get therapy. I think Trevor is actually a good candidate for therapy. The level of humiliation that he has experienced is life-changing, I would imagine. Okay? And I feel for him, and I'm giving him good vibes. Let's not run him in the ground. He's already been run in the ground. He's already been completely outed. It's a reality show, so they have to kind of, I guess, do this. But clinically, if they asked me to consult as a mental health professional, I would say, you know what? I would tell him, we politely are asking you not to come to the reunion. These are the reasons why. We will be talking about it on the show, what happened, and in these texts that you sent. But to put him on there and to humiliate him, and then Vanessa and Nick were going back and forth with the texts, I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to cringe. Like, I couldn't, I felt bad for Trevor, even though Trevor lied and it was on Trevor. So I feel bad for you, Trevor. You are not the first person who's made a mistake like this, and you won't be the last, okay? We all have lied. The gravity of the lie is huge, but you saw an opportunity, you took it. We need to now do the therapy and do the work to find out how we got here, right? And hold ourselves accountable. I don't like this talk that you had about this other woman, and she wasn't even there to defend herself, and she knew and all this. I don't know what's true and what's a lie, but Trevor, at this point, I think you could understand if people don't really believe you. And so there's a lot of work that you need to do. I think that if I had a client like Trevor, he's a lifer at this point with therapy. Like, he needs to be doing therapy consistently for years to really drill down to what's driving him, what's his value system, how he got where he is. The lies on top of lies on top of lies. Like, how did we get here? Who was the model for this type of behavior? Then we go into Chelsea and Jimmy. I really liked the fact that Chelsea just kind of owned, look, looked really insecure on TV. That was a lot for her to swallow, I'm sure. I'm sure it was therapeutic to see herself on TV, see how she behaved, recognizing that she needed to work on her self-esteem. I love the fact that Jess said, it was hard for me to watch Chelsea this way. Chelsea's a fun girl. We all love her. We've never seen her this way. She's a girl's girl. She likes to have fun. We didn't know she was dealing with these insecurities. And I know that was hard for Chelsea, and I really applaud her for all the stuff I've seen on Reddit and social media. Like, she's taking it on the chin. She's like, yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm working on myself. I really admire that about Chelsea. Jimmy looked like he was an anxiety ball. Okay. His jaw was clenched. He was waiting for the lashings, and they didn't really happen that bad. Jess came after Jimmy. Jimmy kind of shared his truth. I feel like Jimmy always kind of does that. He did exaggerate that Jess stormed out in 10 minutes. That wasn't the case. We looked at the receipts. They were sitting there for the first time 2 hours and change, the second time an hour, and she didn't just storm out. But Jess is quick with the tongue too now. Jess can be aggressive sometimes and assertive, and I don't think she really owned that. And I think Jimmy was speaking his truth when he was just like, you kind of backed me in the corner with the whole love thing. I mean, I feel like she did. She wanted him to say it. If he didn't want to be with her, her whole thing is, I want you to say it. I need you to say it. And Jimmy's just not that type of guy. And sometimes we have to meet people where they're at. We can't force people to be something they're not. And I felt like she could have handled that better, albeit she was upset and she was frustrated. She shared so much about her personal life with him and was so vulnerable that I empathized with the anger and the pain she felt. So I'm not saying what she did was wrong or right. Healing Circle, what we do, what I do at my practice, we always talk about there's a lot of gray, okay? It could be a little bit rough and hard to watch Jimmy get backed in a corner that way. And it can be really hard for Jess because she really opened up her heart to him. Two things can be true at one time, okay? But I think it was really hard for Jess to hear that Jimmy was like, yeah, you kind of are abrasive. And like, that was kind of my reality in engaging with you at times. AD and Clay, I really felt for Clay. I'm glad he's in therapy. He talked a lot about, that generational piece. And, he talked a lot about his truth. Some of it, I was like, okay, when he was saying, us as Black men, coming from broken homes, and we don't have, like these models of parents. I cringe when I hear things like that because that is not all of our stories. It's not. There are a lot of Americans in broken homes. And I think it gives a false narrative of us as Black people and the communities that we come from. Yes, some of us do come from that and come from a lot of different kinds of situations. But that was Clay's truth. And I appreciate that about Clay. Clay is always going to speak his truth, and he's always his authentic self. He mentioned in his rant that he loved AD, but I know who I am. And I'm like, okay, so what are you trying to say? Are you saying that you're a cheater? Like, that's who you are? He's really grappling with this. And I love the fact that he said, I got in my own way. And it was hard to hear, but I really appreciate Clay's authenticity, his truth, how he talks about things, how he talks about therapy. And I really hope that he's a really good example for other men that are really struggling with being vulnerable and being open. And AD kind of was like, look, I'm kind of done with this. I gave you a chance. But I was disappointed that she went on dates with Matthew and then was like, she seemed to be giddy talking about it. If I had a client like this, I would really kind of drill in on, let's look at the negative, unhealthy relationship patterns. Why did we go and jump back into the situation with Matthew and even go on dates with him after how he behaved on the show between you and the other woman and kind of like playing both of you? It sounds like AD is kind of, from maybe being hurt by Clay, kind of going back to some of her old patterns and behaviors. And this is a time for her to elevate, right? This is a time for her to continue to grow and elevate. And I hope that AD's doing that. I hope that she's working on her toxic patterns in relationships so that she can find the love that she so deserves. She's beautiful. She's smart. I'm glad that she's not talking to Matthew anymore. Maybe she was just curious about him, but I didn't think that was anything to be giddy about. And I was a little disappointed. I was a little sad for her to see that. We love Amy and Johnny, of course. We're glad that they're in love. It's wonderful to see Kenneth and Brittany. I don't really feel like Kenneth really took the full accountability. I get you're a principal. I get you're hands-on. But I didn't really feel like he took that much accountability. I'm glad that Kenneth and Brittany are friends, and it seems to have worked out. But I really don't see that Kenneth has fully grasped. I think he did say, though, he was authentic in saying, like, I need to figure out the balance between work and having a partner and making sure that I'm able to give the time to my partner. So there was some reflection that he had. I will give him that. And overall, I think they all did a good job, other than Jeremy and Sarah Ann and Trevor. Maybe Trevor got it now, but I think that Jeremy and Sarah Ann really didn't get it. Everyone else kind of saw themselves, grew from it in some way, and hopefully they can use these as stepping stones to move forward. And hopefully they're all in therapy, right? Like after going through a experiment like this, you need some support. You need to first process what the hell just happened to me, right? And then you're out in the world and now all of a sudden you're reality famous and it's a lot. So I really hope that even the Love is Blind people who, producers and Netflix, whoever, like make sure that these people are able to get mental health care, to get the support that they need, that they're just not out cold on the street, like with, oh my gosh, what just happened to me. I'm sending good vibes out to Trevor. I hope he's getting the help that he needs. You are not the first person that's lied on reality TV. You certainly won't be the last, okay? Read your contracts, okay? Because they clearly had access to y'all's phones, and I'm sure you signed something that said you were okay with that. Hopefully you're getting the help you need. That's my 2 cents on Love is Blind, the reunion. It gave everything it needed to give. I hope everyone has a fantabulous week. Check out Vanderpump Rules Part 2, Part 3 coming, and have a fantabulous day.